to go.
Hey there everybody! Welcome back to TTBurger Game Reviews, and you all know who I am, so let's get started. In part 3 of my Ace Combat series review, I took a look at Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere, and gave it a 3 out of 10 due to no story in the North American European versions, along with many changes to the graphics, sound, and the gameplay being way too easy. Today for part 4, I will be looking at my favorite Ace Combat game in the series, and this was the first Ace Combat game to be released on the PlayStation 2. That game is Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies by Namco, released in 2001 in Japan and North America, and then 1 year later in Europe. Now I will start things off by saying that Namco realized that they messed up with Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere, and decided to go back to its roots of Air Combat and Ace Combat 2 for this game, and this time, they do things right. The story stars Mobius 1, an elite fighter pilot serving in the Independent States Allied Forces, fighting against the Federal Eurasian Armed Forces, which have occupied almost all of the UCA continent during the events of 1999, where a massive android coding Ulysses 1994 XF-04 struck UCA, killing 500,000 people and turning many of the survivors into refugees. Erusia then used this opportunity to inhabit the continent after an extended military backup. They then achieved the military supremacy using a super weapon called Stonehenge, a complex of giant railguns that were originally designed to destroy the Ulysses asteroid fragments, but were found to be effective against an aircraft as well. It also allows Erusia to dominate much of the airspace over the continent, giving their military a powerful strategic advantage. Consequently, the ISAF were pushed back to the eastern coast of UCA and eventually set up new headquarters in the North Point. The story is mostly told through still images and fit the game perfectly. Now I have to say the story is very deep, one of the best storylines of all time, and not just in Ace Combat, but also one of the best video game storylines ever. Graphically, Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies is one of the best looking PlayStation games, and still is to this day. The aircraft models are very detailed, almost look like real aircrafts, and the color designs for them are fantastic. The backgrounds are very detailed with crisp lighting, and the weather effects take advantage of the PlayStation 2's hardware. The cutscenes, like I mentioned before, are still images, so there isn't much to say about them, and also so the frame rate is once again very smooth. Sound-wise, Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies is a huge improvement over the other games. The voice setting is the best part, especially the narrator in the cutscenes. His voice fits them perfectly.
The war seemed to unfold in the blink of an eye. I don't remember exactly when the forces from the west occupied my town. I was too busy scanning the skies day after day, waiting for Yellow 13 to reappear. Before I knew it, everything changed. The language they taught us at school. Our friendly local sheriff disappeared and was replaced by foreign MPs. In the beginning, some people secretly tuned into broadcasts from North Point on their parabolic antennas. But as time passed, the broadcast no longer came in. Maybe the satellites were destroyed. All non-military computer networks were shut down. Gasoline was rationed to civilians. Though we lived in the 21st century, we were reduced to using crystal radios and horse-drawn carts. I moved in with my uncle in town, who used to be a taxi driver. Out of gasoline and out of work, my uncle did nothing but to drown himself in drink. I earned my keep by playing the harmonica in the town bar, the one thing I was good at. I'd play for sullen occupation soldiers in exchange for their charity and loose change, and used the money to support my uncle and myself. My uncle trash-talked the barkeep who catered to the enemy soldiers, but he never refused the money I brought home. As for myself, I had a crush on the barkeep's only daughter, who was a little older than me. Another day passed, yet still no sign of the fighter plane Yellow 13 in the skies above our town.
All the voice actors, like the guy in the mission briefing, along with other characters, are also well done. The music this time is much better than the music in Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere. Sure, the soundtrack here doesn't consist of rock guitar sounding tracks from the first two games, but here they got rid of the crappy techno tracks from the third game, and this time we have orchestral sounding tunes, and in my opinion, they fit just as great as the rock guitar sounding tracks from the first two games. Gameplay in Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies is fantastic. I don't think the gameplay can get any better than this. First off, I will say that the difficulty is perfect the way it is, and any fan of these type of games will have no problem with it. The controls are very similar to the first two games, with a couple things added to them, such as holding up on the D-pad will allow you to go into autopilot. This time you can only steer with the left analog stick, but unlike in Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere, where using the analog stick felt clunky and such, here it feels a lot smoother and works perfectly. You can also look around your aircraft by once again using the right analog stick. You also have more weapons you can choose from by pressing the select button, and this time when you press up on the D-pad, you can change the camera view. Also, when you hold down the circle button when you fire a missile, you can track it to see where it's going. One new ability in Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies is you can leave certain missions anytime to restock your ammunition, and doing this will repair your damage to your aircraft, which definitely comes helpful later in the game. This time in Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies, there are a total of 18 missions, and while that has less missions than in Ace Combat 2 and Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere, most missions are longer this time, so it really makes up for it. Although most of the missions involve you destroying targets and such, this time I have no complaints about this because with all these enhancements and improvements made for this game, destroying targets has become a lot more fun this time. Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies also brings back many of the trademark aircraft that weren't available in the last game, such as the F-4E, F-14A, the TND IDS, and more. Besides that though, there isn't much else to say about this game. Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies is definitely a huge improvement for this series and got rid of all the problems Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere had, and the result is perfect. There are no other words to describe the game except perfect. And now for my final rating on the game. Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies is definitely, in my opinion, the best Ace Combat game ever made. I am glad they didn't continue down the path of Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere, because if they did, this game would not have turned out great. It would have been a disaster for sure. I give Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies a perfect 10 out of 10. Stay tuned for part 5, where I will cover Ace Combat 5, The Unsung War, on the PlayStation 2. This is Tony, aka TTBurger88. Peace out, and see you all in part 5.